where's the car? And he goes, he never got the car. And just my heart just sunk. I was like, oh no. Oh no, this isn't happening to me. There's no way. On July 1st, 2024, my car was stolen through the widely known Central Dispatch double brokering scam. I posted my car to go from Arizona to Atlanta. I got a call from a company. This was on a Thursday, and they told me that we can pick it up Friday and drop it off Monday night, maybe Tuesday, which is it's about right, from Scottsdale to Atlanta. I said, oh, okay, no problem. The car was picked up the next day. I'm just thinking, okay, great, car's on the way. Monday night comes around, haven't heard anything. That's not abnormal. They don't usually call us or provide updates unless there's a problem, so I didn't think anything of it. And then Tuesday rolls around, and I remember it was about, I don't know, halfway through the day, and I'm just like, that's kind of weird. Car should have been here by now. So I start calling the transporter, calling them. And this company, they were called Ayler Transportation LLC. That's the name they were under. And I start calling, and the guy's picking up the phone pretty much every time, but he's like, oh, hold on, let me call my driver. I'll call you right back. Let me call my driver. I'll call my driver. I'm like, eventually I got frustrated. I was like, well, dude, where's the car? Like, what's going on? He goes, oh, the driver's in the hospital. And I'm like, sorry, but I don't really care. Like, you could have told me this earlier. I could have set up another transport. Where's the car? And he goes, he never got the car. And just my heart just sunk. I was like, oh no, this isn't happening to me. There's no way. I start doing some research, and I call the dealer, the seller I got it from, and I was like, hey, that car got picked up, right? Because they told me to. They're like, yeah, last Saturday. I'm like, you sure? And they're like, oh yeah, here. And they sent me the bill of lading, the document that, whenever a transport picks up the car, the person releasing the car signs, the driver signs for the condition of it, and then when the car gets delivered, they delivery signature on there too. But the seller sent me a picture of the pickup, and I look at the bill of lading, and the transport company on there, I've never heard of them my whole life. But even worse, the receiver, my company name, my name, our address in Georgia, it had no name, no company name, and a Los Angeles address, 5858 Van Nuys Boulevard. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, there's a California phone number on there. I start calling that California phone number. No one's answering. Now I look up the place where it is. It's like a whole row. Every thing on that street is dealerships, Van Nuys Boulevard. And I looked it up. It's like Keys, Lexus, just everything. And I call the store that it was in front of, and I'm like, hey, did you guys get a Rolls Royce Conan delivered or something? They're like, no, but you're not the first person to call us. There was a Ferrari, Mercedes, a couple Bentleys. And I'm like, what do you mean they called? And they're like, well, they said that their cars were dropped off here, but we don't know anything about it. We don't have those cars. And I was like, what? So I called the carrier that said they picked it up on the bill of lading. And I'm like, hey, did you guys pick up my car? And they're like, your car? We were dispatched this car by a different company. I was like, what company? They said Deep South Freight and Logistics. I'm like, I've never heard of them. I'm like, they're a broker on Central? Like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And who'd you deliver the car to? And they said, well, there's a guy named Mike and another guy that we don't remember his name, but they walked up and met the car early Sunday morning, like 9 o'clock in the morning. They just walked up off the street. I'm like, and you gave it to him? And they're like, well, yeah, they had the phone number on the sheet. So I'm just like, I'm frustrated, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, that's kind of what they're paid to do. I wish they had got IDs from them, but I mean, whatever. I start calling those phone numbers over and over and over again because, I'm just like, who has my car? And I finally get a response because I texted that this one I know the car's stolen, right? And I start texting the number. And I'm like, listen, I know you stole my car. Just where is it? Drop this, no police, nothing. I just want the car back. And obviously I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And the guy texted me back and he said, nice car, motherfucker. Okay, this is gonna be fun. I thought I'd find it quick, but no, couldn't get a trace of anything. The tracker was unplugged immediately. So we actually, later on, we had subpoenaed AT&T to get because the car has a built-in Wi-Fi hotspot. It pings a cell tower like every 60 minutes or something. And it turns out that the last time it pinged was like 15, 20 minutes after the car was stolen. And it was only like 5-6 miles away. It was in a grocery store parking lot. No GPS location, nothing. That's when I start talking to other people because they said there were other cars that were dropped off at that same location. So I start digging and finding, okay, who else got screwed? Who else did this happen to? Maybe they'll have some more information. And I talked to them, and they all said the same thing happened. This company, Deep South Freight and Logistics. I'm like, who is Deep South Freight? So I looked them up and on Central, and they're fairly new, but they only have like 5 or 6 reviews. They're all 5 stars, but all their reviews are from Ayler Transportation, the company that initially called me to take my load that I booked it with. So then I look on Ayler's reviews and it's all Deep South Freight. So I'm like, are these the same people? And then I look on some of their different listings and some of the dispatch sheets of other people, and they have the same phone numbers. So I'm like, these are the same people. And I'm like, okay, so that's how they're doing this. Ayler takes it, and then they log out because now they have what they need. They have the pickup address and they have the vehicle information. They log out, log in under Deep South Freight, and then Deep South Freight posts the load on a load board. Only difference is they change where it's going, which in this case, most of these guys were going to LA. I mean, that's how they were doing it. It happened to all of us, and no one could figure out because most people think that the transport drivers, like the people with the trailers, are stealing the car. No, they're not. They're not. They are innocent. They're dropping them off because they're paid to do it. They're contracted by a company on Central, and that's it. Now, there have been some that were smart that got there, realized something was up, and started like backtracking and called dealers and stuff going, hey, this don't feel right. And some people got lucky, but I didn't, nor did anybody else that was associated with mine. So the next few days, weeks, I started just looking in and trying to figure out, where I could find this car. Police couldn't help me at all. Nothing was happening. And that's when I started trying to chase down other cars that were stolen by them, because I thought that, if I find another one, I'll find where they had this big. In my head, I'm thinking there's this big warehouse just full of all these cars. There wasn't, but I had to try. So that's when we recovered the G-Wagon, the Rolls Royce, and McLaren, Blue Urus, and then we prevented on that one, the Rolls Royce Dawn, the one that was at the Federal impound lot. I just kept looking into it. Then the trail went cold around August. We didn't really hear anything after that, and I kind of stopped looking into it as much, just because at this point I was like, dude, I'm not gonna find this thing. I kind of chill out for a little while, and then it was about the first, I want to say it was the last week of October, first week of November. I get a message on Instagram. And keep in mind, when this first happened, I posted it everywhere. Stolen Conan, pictures of it, pictures of the interior, because the interior is really easy to recognize. It's Arctic white, and it has the red stitching, like, so the R's are red, and then like on the seats it has like black paneling, right? I haven't seen that many with them, maybe 3 or 4 total. So chances are, if someone noticed that interior and it was in LA and it was a black car, it was probably mine. So I get a message on Instagram. This guy goes, hey, I found your car. And I was like, oh, this is bullshit. Here we go. And then he sends me a picture of, first he blacks out the person that's in it, but it's this girl that's like posing in the back of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the car. And I'm like, who is it? And he was like kind of scared to tell me at first, but I got him to eventually. Man, he's like, please don't tell me. I was like, dude, I just want the car. I don't know who you are. So he sends me, this girl's name and her Instagram. And then I go on there and I find out that, she has a boyfriend that does like that whole exotic rentals thing or whatever. And I was like, well, this looks pretty sketchy. So I'm like, okay, let me make sure this is my car. So I start looking through the pictures and the videos and the stories. I was like 99% sure, but I still couldn't prove it. I was like, I don't know. And then I started calling around and asking people, I was like, hey, with the Rolls Royce, do the headliners, like the Starlight headliners, are they ever the same? And everyone told me no. They're like a fingerprint, like no two are ever the same. So I took a picture of the car before it was stolen that I knew was my car, and I put it next to the one of the girl. And she was sitting right underneath the handle, in the back. And up there, you can see these 2 little bright stars. Here's the handle, here are these 2 little bright stars, and they're identical. And I was like, yeah, that's the car. And I started matching up all the other, I even had like drawings where I'd like do lines through them and like all these crazy constellations. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely the car. So at that point, I focused everything I could on trying to figure out who they were and, where they were, where the car could be. And, it turns out the guy who had the car, supposedly, he had just rented it for a day from one of his buddies. Of course, he didn't want to tell me who his buddy was, and then he stopped really talking to anybody because I had a couple people reach out to him. I reached out to him. It didn't go so well. And then all of a sudden, I get a TikTok sent to me of this guy that was walking around. It was playing mariachi music, and Conan was right there, but it was white. Because at first I was like, no, that's not my car. But then I saw the interior, and and then I looked. The mirrors are still black. The parking sensors are still black. The grill's still black. The badge still. I'm like, this might be the car. And they changed the wheels too. They had 4G Auto. The Travis Scott ones, they kind of look like dishes, like no spokes or anything, but they had changed those too, and they put these cheaper wheels on there. I was like, man, that might be the car. So I watched the video and went through it, and I saw the Starlight headliner, matched it up again. I was like, damn it, that is the car. So I started trying to find out everything on him. I got some information from some people that he may not be one to mess with. I'll kind of leave it at that. But I do know that he was associated with a dealership in Mexico called Alvarez Exotics. And I know this because he had one of his other personal cars had a Alvarez Exotics logo on it, and also had the Canelo logo. He's a famous Mexican boxer. Well, that Alvarez Exotics, that's his family's dealership. His name is Saul Canelo Alvarez, I believe is his full name. And I knew this guy I had my car in LA was associated with that, but from what I knew, my car was still in LA because the video, I was able to take the pictures, of the screenshots of it, and I was able to place exactly where it was, and I found where his house was and everything. Police, they said that they drove by, didn't see the car. I don't know if they did or not. I don't know. I mean, they could have, maybe not. I knew that he was associated with this dealership in Mexico, but I didn't really think the car was going to end up in Mexico. I mean, this is kind of stuff you hear about in, movies. Like, I really didn't think it would happen to me. I thought eventually someone would get pulled over in LA and I'd get it back. But no, 2 weeks later, Alvarez Exotics posts Conan sold on their Instagram, and I go through the pictures, same thing, stars in the headliner, that's it. That's the one. They didn't have any information on there. They don't have a real website either. They're a dealership that sells exotic cars. Like, they have Uruses, they have STO on there, all kinds of stuff. Like, it looks nice. Like, the picture of the place looks really nice. It's in Guadalajara. Where's your website? If you're selling cars, I don't know how you're marketing that without internet, like a website, but whatever. We start calling down there just at hopes of maybe they'll do the right, they had to try. And at first they said, no, that's not our car. That's not our car. It is your car. It's at your dealership. It has your logo. Like, they did the little vinyl thing on the back that dealerships do. Said, Alvarez, your logo's on there. And all your employees are posting it on their TikToks and their Instagrams. Like, y'all have the car. And they're like, oh, well, we bought it from someone, and I'm having to use a translator. So that kind of doesn't help either. But they basically told me that, yeah, we bought it from someone and it's sold now. It's not on the lot anymore. And I'm like, well, that car is stolen. And I'm certain it's been VIN swapped. But if you plug in a computer to that, ECU, like, it's going to show the real VIN. If you plug it in, like any kind of scanner will. And at first they were like cooperative. They're like, okay, well, yeah, we'll support you, and we'll hook it up, and we'll call back tonight, and we'll figure this out. Well, that night we call back, and it's totally different tone. Like, you don't know who, what you're talking about. Like, we don't know who you are. You're trying to scam us. Like, this, how do we know it's your car? And I'm like, energy changed, right? So, we're like, look, no, this is our car, and we're going to send you the VIN number. We send them a picture of the title. Like, this is what the VIN number you will find in the computer will be. And they agreed that if they found it, when they said they were going to scan it, that if it was right, they were going to send us video proof, if it was or wasn't. Well, then they never did that. And then they completely ghosted us. And that was it. We tried to get a hold of them again, nothing. They took the post down off Instagram, like, immediately. There's still some videos of it on their employee stuff, though. But they tried to just wash their hands of it. And now one of their customers has been posting it. He's a Luis, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but Luis Conriquez. He seems like a pretty famous Mexican singer. He's posting it it's on his Instagram story right now. He was riding around drinking champagne in the back of it last night after his concert. And he's, got tons of selfies with Canelo and Canelo's brother, and at the dealership, and they're obviously all friends. But, and I tried to, before I even told the story, this is the first time I've told this out loud to anybody. I tried to contact a lawyer that works for Canelo, but I got no cooperation. All I got was, you don't know it's your car. Or how do you? I'm telling you everything. I know I wouldn't be making accusations if I didn't do my research. Didn't just see a picture of some seats in a car in a different country and just assume it's mine because I want it to be. I don't want my car to be in Mexico. Promise. I want it to be here. It'd be a lot easier, but that's kind of where we're at now. Yeah, it's been fun.
Right now, I want you to click the link in the description below to find your next car on Auto Tempest. Whatever it is you're looking for, Auto Tempest is the most powerful way to shop for your next car. They compile all the results from all the major listing sites into one place, and now they've got a new feature that I love. You can see all of the historical price changes that a car has had since it first showed up for sale online. That gives me more power to be an even shrewder negotiator, understanding exactly how desperate the seller probably is to get rid of this car. So check them out now at the link in the description below to thank them for their ongoing support of VINwiki and find your next car on Auto Tempest.